Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League, the week where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
It can also revolve around Sky. My name's James.
60 hours until football kicks off again, approximately, give or take.
How you feeling?
Good. Better than I did for most of the weekend. In terms of do I know what I'm doing and what my strategy is, and does it make logical sense? Yes. I feel good. I tell you what, I'm in the middle of trying to build a outdoor TV screen. I've got a projector, and so I've managed to get a piece of 2.4 meter by 1.2 meter MDF. I'm screwing it into a pallet. Fingers crossed, I'll end up with a 100-inch outdoor TV screen to watch the games on when the weather's nice and sunny. And if that happens and I can make it work, which I'll know by tomorrow, then I'm really excited about the football because I'll be able to sit outside in the sun with a beer on a 100-inch big piece of wood watching the game.
Okay, we're all social distancing in Suj's garden then.
Yeah. Postcode is available for Patreons. So is it?
Whereas I'll probably be the complete opposite of you. I'll be like hiding in the spare room watching games on my mobile while little Harry runs around watching number blocks
TV.
and whatever other shit is this week's fad.
It's amazing how so my boys are 7 coming up to 8 and 6.5, and most evenings put them to bed about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and they'll be like, "Oh, Dad, why don't you lie in my bed for a little while?" I'm like, "No, man, me and my mum are going to go downstairs and watch TV for a little while," and they're like, "That's not fair. Why do you get to watch TV?" So like, the rest of the whole entire fucking day, mate, you've been watching TV and I've not had any access to it from 8 in the morning until 7 p.m. There's some crap on kids' TV. So you go to sleep. I'm going to monopolise the TV. I know how you feel about the TV in your house being monopolised by your child or wife, mate.
Well, there's been no point trying to get him into football over the last 3 months, has there?
No, true.
But I'm gonna try again on Wednesday. I suspect by around about 6:15, I'll be on my phone or something. He just has that long noise at the moment. It's probably really horrible for the podcast.
It's exciting. I think now that I've got my FPL strategy kind of sorted, I can move on like you do sometimes into Sky and all that other stuff that I need to get done by Wednesday, really. So it's all well and good. What is your strategy, James? What are you planning on doing? Just for the listeners, regular listeners will know we normally cover all sorts of FPL topics. Today, because there's no games to review, we will run down what James is doing, run down what I'm doing, and then we will get into the 42 or so Twitter questions that we've had. And thank you all for those Twitter questions because having had a quick scan through, they're all quite different, James, quite diverse.
Good.
Topics to cover. We will be covering what to do if you don't have a wild card. We will be covering Norwich and the positive test. We will do all of the AB questions that people have been asking and that kind of thing. So, yeah, we've got it all there. Team value has come up in quite a few questions. We'll go through all of it today.
I think I know my team. I think I know what I'm doing now that we're recording this at Monday lunchtime. There's over 48 hours to go. So any form of news can change my plans. As such, did the news at the weekend concerning Big Tasty, who was reportedly potentially absent for Newcastle. And as part of a bench boost for me, that was enough for me to think, do you know what? I'm going to look at something else here. And looking at something else, considering Jamela's very cheap value, has led me into a position where I'm now likely to go without Sergio Agero, even though I think he is probably the best captain choice in the game week. It's the balance of the squad that I can get without Agero is so much better. And in spite of the fact I think Agero probably will outscore De Bruyne, for example, the value, etc., I have built up in De Bruyne and the balance in terms of what I'd want to do in game week 31, bearing in mind I'm likely to not use any chip in 31 and want to use a bench boost now, means that De Bruyne is the better choice for me between the two. So my plan is to bench boost this game week, do nothing in 31. But I say nothing, probably take a -4, which in my head, I already know what that is. And free hit in 32 when City and Liverpool play each other, and then wildcard in 33. It's also possible that I might not free hit in 32. I'm keeping that option open because I'm probably likely to be in a position where I've got 3 between Man City and Liverpool. So it really depends when I get there. I'm not 100% locked into free hit in that week. It could be that I then free hit in 33, wildcard 34, and keep moving it back, for example. That's where my mind is at the moment. And if there's no news that upsets me, I now know what my 15 players will be.
Do you want to reveal them?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I don't mind.
Ederson and Leno in goal.
That's correct. Yeah, it will be those 2. Back 5 will be Baldock and Stevens. Matt Target of Villa, I'm going to favour over Tyrone Mings. Trent Alexander-Arnold. Matt Doherty. 5 fullbacks, 3 of them are wing backs, essentially. You could argue Trent is a wing back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Midfield 5 of De Bruyne. Riyad Mahrez is going to be my gamble. Fleck, McGinn and Grealish. Front 3 of Aubameyang, Jimenez, Danny Ings. It means not a full 12 of doublers. It means 11. I've only got 2 from Arsenal. Because quite frankly, beyond Leno and Aubameyang, I hate every single option available to them. There isn't anything cheap enough that I think, yeah, great, I'll get 2 games out of in a defensive position. I think Leno is a good choice. I don't want to be forcing in sort of David Luiz's or Bellerin's when I think there's every chance they'll get a hide-in on Wednesday night. So I'm going with the 2. It's 3 Villa, 3 Sheffield United, 3 Man City, and then I've got 4 single game week players in Alexander-Arnold, Doherty, Jimenez, and Danny Ings is probably going to be the really surprise name to people. He have a bit of value involved. He is currently the most sold player before this game week, and he plays Norwich. I'm thinking about it more. I was going to be looking at a bench boost originally that was going to probably be Trent, Jimenez, and Lascelles. I'm now looking at, okay, Trent as part of the starting 11, and the bench boost being Doherty, Jimenez, and Ings. And I think actually that's stronger.
Fascinating that you've run down your team in that way. So I'm almost, people might think, hang on a second, because we spend a lot of time together or talk about FPL quite a lot, that our thinking gravitates towards similar. I don't think that genuinely happens that much. I think you do what you do, I do what I do, and especially in the last 2 or 3 weeks. However, your 4 single game week players, Trent, Doherty, Jimenez, Ings, are all in my current existing squad. So I play my free hit. I come back to all 4 of those in game week 31.
You won't play any of them in 30 is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I'm free hitting, right? So yeah. But you're thinking longer term, and I feel in a blessed position that I'm going to get those 4 back in a few weeks. That's nice and reassuring, or whatever you think about it as. Yeah, okay. So the reason I'm free hitting, not bench boosting, in game week 30 plus is because I'm happy with my squad that I come back to in game week 31. So that's very, very interesting. Let me run you through what I'm going to do, and then maybe we can compare and contrast the strategies. And then I think we're going to either shed clarity for 10% of FPL players and confuse the other 90% even more. Doing. I decided to go down the free hit route for a couple of reasons. I'm happy with my squad overall, bar probably 2 players. So I didn't feel the need, if I use all of these unlimited transfers, I didn't want to waste my wild card coming back to a squad that predominantly, like well over half, is going to be exactly the same. I mean, my triple Liverpool and my triple Wolves in game 31 plus is fine, right? So, and Vardy and Danny Ings and so on. So I'm happy with that squad. Kevin De Bruyne, obviously, in there. So I thought free hit would make more sense. If you tot up free hit in a double game week, gets me 22 fixtures, potentially. A bench boost in a single game week gets me 15. 22 plus 15, 37 fixtures. Whereas bench boosting in this double game week could get you a maximum of 27. And free hitting in a single game would get you 11. It's 38 fixtures. There's only one fixture difference between the two. So the fixtures in case there's another double game week in the future, then that argument's out the window. Especially take someone like yourself now, you've already taken out one of your double game week players. So you're on potential 37 versus 37, depending on when you play your free hit. I hope that makes sense. It basically, there's no advantage on playing a bench boost now. So I thought free hit now, and then when I do need to play my bench boost and want to play my bench boost, I really only need to find 4 players that have a good fixture on my bench in a week. And it makes it worthwhile for me to play my bench boost. Plus, I've still got my second wild card up my sleeve to prepare for that bench boost should I want to. And very provisionally looking at the fixtures, and this is like 9 game weeks out now, I think game week 38 might give me the opportunity to set myself up for a really good bench boost. If the opportunity arises before then, great. And if it doesn't, I'm very comfortable wildcarding 37 for a bench boost and 38 as my last case resort, and then I can free hit here. I had a listen to plugging other people's. Our friend Late Riser 12 did that pod with Walsh. I thought he was really interesting and really good, and the way he punted second goalkeeper and fifth defender and what have you got me thinking about my wildcard team. As right, I want 3 attacking City assets, definitely without fail. And I want attacking Arsenal assets because I think they're the 2 big hitters in the team. Kevin De Bruyne's a must. So Raheem Sterling is also a must for me. Aubameyang is a must. I'll put Pepe in the mix as well. I'll put Leno in goal. Grealish is a must. And then I've filled in Samatta, Leroy Sane. I've got double.
What? You can't just casually drop Leroy Sane into the conversation.
Let me get into it. And then double Sheffield United defence in Ender Stevens and AN other, maybe Lundstrom, maybe O'Connell, maybe Basham. I can afford any which one I want. And I had Tyrone Mings in there. I mean, Mings and Target at a similar price. I don't disagree with. I think it's a flip of a coin which one of those 2. But I looked at my midfield and attack, and you've got De Bruyne, Sterling, Sane, Pepe, Grealish, Aubameyang, Samatta. That's 7 players that could all potentially return. I mean, Sane is your Riyad Mahrez punt. It's crazy, but it's that punt, right? The one player that Sane gets 50, 60 minutes in both games. I'll be very happy with that. And you know what? If Sheffield United keep 1 clean sheet out of the 2, I'm fine with that. So I've gone with a power 7 up front as best as I can. I've got no fodder in there of a McGinn or a Fleck or anything like that. Samatta's guaranteed minutes because Wesley's not playing, so I don't mind. I don't really like their fixtures, I'll be honest with you. But if they're going to score, he's likely to be on the end of one of them. Grealish has been involved with 50% of Villa's goals this season, give or take. So I think, yeah, if I wanted to downgrade Leroy Sane to McGinn and then upgrade Samatta to Agero, and then I'd have Sterling, Agüero, De Bruyne, Pepe, Aubameyang, Grealish, and then the filler in there of McGinn, which again I'd take it. So there is either or there. If I really get cold feet on Leroy Sane, that I can downgrade him and jump up to Agüero up top, but that's where I'm going with.
And the bench is just shit, I presume.
Yeah. I'll actually have Mousse on the bench as a double game week player, and then just like crap. Couldn't get
okay. Yeah, I don't mind that idea of having one there that you think is going to be crap. So I don't know, like a Guendouzi or a Saka or, as you said, Mousse or something like that. Yeah, I don't mind that idea of having the one that just to cover you off to be safe. So is that only 2 Sheffield United players then?
Correct.
So Baldock plus 1 more to be confirmed.
No, Stevens plus 1.
Stevens plus 1.
Yeah.
You think
exactly.
Stevens over Baldock? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think the flip of a coin with those Sheffield United defenders. I think Ender Stevens is the wing back that bombs forward. So yeah, I do think so. I mean, either or. If I can squeeze out the pennies, I might get Baldock and Stevens.
There are coin tosses here. I think Mings and Target, I agree. It's a coin toss. Baldock, Stevens. I personally, of the two, if I was pressed at the moment, I've got both. I would choose Baldock of the two, I think. Have you...
They're the same price at the moment, right?
I think Stevens is 0.1 more. Stevens 5.2, Baldock 5.1. What to add on to my team, which is really important, is from the 15 players, I've got 1.5 million left in the bank. And that allows me several different potential moves for game week 31, bearing in mind I'm not looking to wildcard straight away. So, for example, all that value I've got in the goalkeepers in Ederson and Leno. Ederson down to a 4.0 goalkeeper allows me Mahrez straight to Mane as City walk into Chelsea and Liverpool. Or, for example, it also allows me Mahrez to Mane and allows me Aubameyang down to Vardy. It could allow me a straight 1 free transfer move of Mahrez to Heung-min Son, for example. So there are loads of different ways I can go from that. I would favour the first option that I said because I'd like Mane, I think, for game week 31 particularly.
I mean, yeah, if they can win the title that game, they're gonna.
The majority of people are not going to be taking this route that I'm taking, and we'll wild card straight off it, not wanting to look at Aston Villa assets, etc. in 31. But I don't really mind looking at Aston Villa assets against Newcastle in game week 31 personally. And if I get there and I don't like it, the likes of with what I've got with my squad at the moment, yeah, Target and McGinn and that can sit on the bench for me. But I think I'd play a few of them because one of the things as well, say for those going treble Sheffield United defence, which is going to be many, be it Henderson +2 or 3 across that back line, is obviously if you're carrying through, it's Manchester United in game week 31. Now, one of Sheffield United's poorest defensive displays, admittedly it wasn't a bad performance on the day, but they had 10 mad minutes against Manchester United where they conceded 3 times, right? So Manchester United are one of those rare teams who think, yeah, we can exploit these. So you're not going to necessarily want to come back and sit into that in game week 31. So I'd probably be in a position where I might even leave Baldock and Stevens out in 31. I'll obviously decide once I get there. But with mine, I've gone the 4 double game week players who I potentially believe, 3, if I exclude Manchester City, that I think probably have the best chance of attacking returns from those budgetish options. I know Stevens and Baldock are mid-range, basically. But yeah, I've gone for a full complement of fullbacks/wingbacks, which is, when you're picking double game week players, is always a little bit of a danger because of rotation. But Sheffield United, we know really 4 days between the 2 games, I think it will be okay. And Taylor is such a poor understudy to Target that I wouldn't foresee Target not playing twice as well. I think Target is the better choice than Mings. Mings is just a little bit safer. He's basically where we're at. Target and Grealish were beginning to build a very nice relationship on the left-hand side, although there is a suggestion that Villa may deploy slightly different tactics. One of those could actually be a back 3, which would even possibly see Target play left wing-back, perhaps. And McGinn and Grealish closer to a front man in Samatta. I don't believe there are right and wrongs here. That's the biggest thing to say, Suj. I don't have an issue with you playing free here. I don't think you have an issue with me playing bench boost and going the way I'm playing.
Not at all.
Absolutely play it your own way. There are so many coin tosses. I'm sure, like I said, a lot of people are thinking, we're sticking with Danny Ings then. And I'm looking at it and going, well, I might want 3 game weeks of someone now who I can leave sitting there. And Southampton playing Norwich, Arsenal and Watford in those 3 games really doesn't frighten me.
There's so many sub stories within each individual player and selection that you need to think about here. And I think some people do have slightly short memories. I mean, you're thinking about Danny Ings. It's more that mindset against Danny Ings is the mindset at the start of the season, not as he progressed and played so well. And then people think, oh, well, right before the lockdown, he wasn't great. But then Nathan Redmond was out, and you're talking about Nathan Redmond's back in now. So Danny Ings becomes much more attractive. With everybody in my 15, I asked myself, they were there for a reason. What was that reason? Like my front line of Jimenez, Vardy and Ings. I don't see why I want to change them necessarily at the moment. There's only 1 or 2 that's a question mark. Diego Rico and maybe Alex McCarthy. But other than that, yeah, they were there for a reason at the time. Just remind yourself of what that is, and they could easily hit the ground running. I've got
if you're sitting there with Otamendi, remind yourself why.
That's the one that you might need to look at yourself in the mirror and remind yourself why. I was having a look at Pepe. Pepe's not really. He's only played the equivalent of 17 games of football, and he's got 10 attacking returns in those games. So he can have the potential to. I think was it Norwich that he got a goal and a couple of assists a couple of weeks before shutdown. I can't remember who it was.
Newcastle, was it? I think maybe.
Sorry, yeah, 17-pointer. He's got the explosiveness in him. I saw him do some damage at our place earlier in the season when Arsenal blew us away in a period in the second half. So I don't mind Pepe. I think he will play and he will get the minutes if he's fit with on the right-hand side.
But I wouldn't go near him, by the way, personally.
Why is that?
Well, Adam at 352 said in Clash of the Correspondence last week that he thought that Pepe probably wouldn't play against Man City.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of what you've highlighted there. Oh, he's played the equivalent of this amount of games. This is his returns. Isn't that part of the problem? I think it's possible.
Every other game.
I think it's possible
that more than every other game.
I think it's possible that he doesn't start either.
I don't see that.
I think that's very, very unlikely, but I think it's possible.
I think he's got that place on the right. So who are they going to play on the right instead? What, Ozil goes out to the right?
I wouldn't fancy him playing against Man City. Obviously, you don't fancy many players playing against them. And I actually wouldn't fancy him playing against Dan Burn at Brighton. I think he'll be going backwards quite a lot.
Interesting. Tell me your thoughts on, because Sane's come up in a few conversations. There's been news reports that he's fit, that Pep's going to use him and get involved with him. How mad a punt is it?
It's no more mad than almost every other Manchester City player.
Okay, fair play.
I mean, again, part of the problem you said you'd be quite happy if he plays 50, 60 minutes, both games.
Mm-hmm.
That's potentially 2 points.
Yeah.
If he doesn't return, right? We know what he's capable of. And if he returns, he'll probably get more minutes in a given game, etc. We know what he's capable of. We don't really know where his head's at, because I think even City fans believe now that he probably is heading back to Bayern Munich in the summer.
Correct, yeah.
But yes, we've all heard those reports that apparently training well, Pep perhaps wants him involved. So if I consider that, then it makes Riyad Mahrez, when you've still got Sterling into the equation and Bernardo Silva, it makes Riyad Mahrez a big risk, doesn't it?
Exactly. If I do well and Sane comes back in, then Sterling switches to the right, and you're done for with Mahrez. And I've seen Sterling and Sane left-right combination putting on the back stick for each other so effectively that I think if I have Kevin De Bruyne, Sterling and Sane, City score 5 or 6 goals over the 2 games, and those guys are involved in none of them, I'll take that as, oh well. Then I'll take my 500,000 place rank drop on the chin.
I think Kevin De Bruyne is close to essential.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the word, but his ownership's going to be off the scale. And I think those who go without Agero may well, a little bit like myself, default into captaining KDB through the safety. Aubameyang's the other one's going to have quite a number of captainers. And one of the reasons with me for Mahrez is added in that security of Ederson as well, who we all are pretty certain will probably play twice, unlike every other Man City asset. We have no idea. Then I think going that sort of route of 2 plus 1 is a gamble. And the importance with Mahrez is he's at the right value, like I said, to make a number of different potential moves in game week 31 that works best for myself. Because I want to come off. I'm almost certain that I will sell Mahrez in game week 31, and it's just where I go. So it's right punt, right time for myself. And I think he's got as good a chance of playing twice as any. And look, I'm still happy if he plays either one of those fixtures. If you said now Mahrez will start one of the games, fuck it. It'll do, because he can do the business in one of them games.
I mean, he's just as likely to pick up 2 goals and assist in the way that Pepe does. I've seen Mahrez do it, and he quite often gets free kicks from outside the box. So, I mean, I did look at Mahrez. He's $1 million cheaper than Leroy Sane, and then Sane just sucked me back in. But we'll see. We'll see what he says.
Listen, every single listener who's listened to us for a while is listening now and thinking, Suj, please pick Leroy Sane. 1, because if it goes well, they want to see you be happy. And 2, they also want to see the carnage where you and I sit here in 8 days' time and go, what a fuck up that was, mate.
It's a win-win, isn't it? Then really.
Yeah, a little bit. So I think you should do it.
Last question before we look at these Twitter questions, James. The C word. Who's your captain?
De Bruyne.
Keeping it on the safe side.
Unless I decide to work Agero back in, and I think now I'm very set on this plan because it's a beyond game week 30 into 31 and possibly even more for myself with the money being left aside. So I think now I would need some sort of news that really upsets me, and that sort of news could be, for example, Jesus is injured, and then for example, I definitely want to have a rethink at that sort of point. So, but I think this will be me. I think I'm entitled to change my mind, but I think this will be me.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's going to be, well, I'm tempted with Aubameyang, but I think I'll stick with Kevin De Bruyne for now and just play it safe. With the Leroy Sane gamble, I don't think it's worth gambling on the captaincy. Should I bottle it? And I'll happily be called a bottler if I do, and downgrade Leroy Sane and get Agero in, then it will move to Sergio Agero. But I think Aubameyang might be a different differential. I don't think that many people will captain Aubameyang.
I think a lot will.
You think so?
Yeah, I think a lot will just take the view that he's the striker that's definitely going to play twice.
Unless he doesn't sign a new contract. Ooh.
Well, his comments yesterday, won't have pleased Arsenal fans, but I don't see any of that affecting him this week. He's captain, etc. I'm fairly certain that he will play twice.
Correct. Should we get into some of these Twitter questions, Jay?
Go then, sir.
There's some good ones, and they'll raise some good, interesting conversation. The first we can't answer. It's Gary Shepherd, one of our patrons. Gary, how are you? Hope you're doing all right, mate. This is a long question that perhaps James and I will figure out an answer on one of the Patreon pods or over Slack or what have you. What would be your best FPL and Champman FPL combined squad? 100 quid maximum budget. Again, maximum 3 per team. Yeah, and he does say, I appreciate this might take longer than the pod and is probably more of a Slack channel chat.
Yeah, right. we're unfortunately right now only catering for about 10% of the listeners. But Ruud van Nistelrooy would be in it every week.
It's a good question though, Gary. And I think it's a nice, interesting conversation to have. But right now, with the North v South, Champman game tomorrow, FPL, Sky FF, and all of those to get out and live, going to be a little bit of a challenge. Whilst we talk about Slack, James, I want to ask you a question and see if you can get close to it. And I don't know if you remember me announcing this last week. On our Slack channel, which has now 135 people in there, how many messages do you think were sent in the last 7 days? And the reason I know this is because Slack sends me an automated email every Monday saying, last week on your Slack channel,
5,000.
2,667 messages.
Oh, well, I've ruined that now, haven't I?
I'm just saying, if you're not in the Slack, you're missing out. There you go. 2,000 messages. Everyone's having a party in there. Next question, Amber Redmond. Which question do you think you'll be asked most between now and the end of the season?
As long as it isn't what happens if I launch my free hit, then I don't really care. What will I get asked the most? How badly do you want Mourinho sacked? Or I don't know.
I know the answer. I know the non-FPO answer to this question, and it's not a question that I get asked, but it's a statement that is a question. Which is, my boys will say, Dad, I'm hungry. And it's not really a question, but it's a statement that is Dad, I'm hungry. What are you
Make me some dinner. What are you going to do about it?
What are you about to give me to eat right now? And that's probably, I get asked about 20 times a day. I reckon from an FPL point of view, it'll be, who's your captain this week? I think it'll be something along those lines.
Yeah. Or A or B. That's the other one everyone likes, isn't it? Yeah, A or B.
I think.
I love it when you go B and then they go, yeah, but I like A.
Yeah, I think the one
you asked for
the one that I'll get asked most in the next three or so weeks, and it will go in two directions really. After that, is do you think West Ham are going to get relegated? Do you think West Ham?
Yes, very true.
And then, as it becomes clearer whether we will or won't, I think people will stop asking because they'll either know we're safe or they don't want to rub it in anymore. So,
I think things are about to get worse for West Ham, but I do think you'll stay up.
yeah, the first 3 fixtures are tough. Chelsea, we walk into Wolves, your lot, and then Chelsea, and then it gets a bit easier. So if we get 4 out of the next 3 games, I'll be blown away. 4 points.
Yeah. That'll be a great return out of them 3 games, mate.
Massive. Right, next question is coming in from Brian Blades Attack. With issues at Norwich, is Pookie worth the risk, or is Deeney a decent alternative?
Yeah, I've got some views on this. So probably just to clarify for those who haven't missed it.
We don't know who it is, right?
No, and we're probably not going to know. So Norwich played in a friendly at Spurs on Friday, and Norwich released a statement very late on Saturday night saying that one of their players had contracted coronavirus. Now, this player did play in the fixture against Tottenham on Friday. There is a potential feeling here and opinion from a lot of people that both these clubs should now not be playing this week, is worth saying. But the ruling at the moment is that player goes into self-isolation. Obviously, everyone else gets tested. If they're not tested as positive, then it's crack on, basically. So in terms of close proximity, the way it's defined, and this is dumb as fuck, but it's defined in terms of by the government, and this is what the Premier League are using. If you spend 15 minutes or more within 2 meters of somebody. Now, unless you're like an old-fashioned man marker, like a Martin Keown or something like that, you're not going to be within 2 meters of the same person within a 90-minute football match, and certainly not for a consecutive 15-minute period, right?
Correct.
So on that basis, nobody's going to be in close proximity, which is daft as fuck, isn't it? Let's be very honest, right? So there's no impact immediately on Tottenham. Therefore, there's no impact on Manchester United either. In terms of Norwich, there is obviously a fear that for those who are particularly on the bench boost option, I think one player that will particularly be popular, for example, is Todd Cantwell. Mm-hmm. Todd Cantwell, if you compare it to, say, my potential choice of Jamela Lascelles previously, he's at the right budget. You think, if he sits on my bench as a single game week player, that's not too bad, 4.7 or whatever he is. Some people might have value carried on him as well. Should you take him out? I have strong opinion on this, that if you want a Todd Cantwell or a Teemu Pukki in your squad, keep them in your squad. That strong feeling. Just look at it from the perspective that certainly in excess of 20 Norwich players played against Spurs. The match was actually played over 30 minutes. It was a 120-minute match. Both teams made an excessive number of changes in those final half hour. The 2 teams that played in the final half hour of those 120 were very much a mix and match of fringe/youth players to give people minutes, etc. So it's not impossible that Norwich have even used more than 22 players here. Let's say they have a squad of 25. We don't actually know what 22 or 20 players played for Norwich last week. If 25 players in a squad, what's the chance of it being your player that's got the illness? Well, by that maths, it's 4%.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was out of 20 players, it's still only 5% chance that it's your player. I genuinely wouldn't read that much into it, because bearing in mind as well, the game was Friday and we didn't find out till Saturday night. There's really nothing here to tell you that someone is not going to contract this virus tested on Tuesday and you won't know about it till deadline's gone late on Wednesday or on Thursday. Therefore, it's out of your hands. I really wouldn't worry about it too much.
Agreed. So, Brian, the answer is take the risk and don't worry about.
If you want Todd Cantwell or Teemu Pukki in your squad, go with them. If it turns out it's one of them, for example, or Max Aarons might be another one, or Buendia, look, you're just bloody unlucky. And it's literally no different to, I don't know, Dean Smith might do a presser with the website on Tuesday morning. They have training Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning and Jack Grealish gets injured and you won't know about it. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the same.
This is Jimmy Mac and Cheese. Which Chelsea assets would you go for in game week 30 to then wild card out? I just think you'd avoid, surely. I haven't really looked at any Chelsea players yet. I want to see what they do in the couple of weeks. If they win their first couple of games and stabilise that Champions League spot, then I think there isn't any that really interest me. I think if you go back to that same pool of Pulisic, Mount, Tammy Abraham, Hudson-Odoi, but none interest me at the moment.
I think the two, no, not at all, actually. Because I couldn't tell you more than probably 3 Chelsea players, and I would go Kepa, probably, Azpilicueta, Rudiger. Other than that, I'm really not sure who's going to play for Chelsea. Not only that, I don't even know the system they're going to play, be it a 4 at the back or 3 at the back, which obviously Marcus Alonso was excelling in before lockdown. So I think Marcus Alonso and Tammy Abraham are the two that people were really, really looking at and thinking, oh, I can free hit in 31 or wild card in 31 and then avoid that Manchester City fixture. I just think you're taking a real chance. Do I think Abraham will play? Yes. Do I think Alonso would play? Probably. I can't put it up more than probably. And so therefore, in my circumstance, I'm absolutely avoiding. And I think if you free hit and you've got someone like Marcus Alonso in your squad, my advice would be that you may well need a slightly stronger bench than the fodder that you might have already been planning for. That said, also, with 5 substitutes, he probably will come on and get you a 1-pointer as well. So, yeah, not keen. I'm not keen on Chelsea at all until the fixture swings for them 32, 33. And in which case, I absolutely do want to look at them between 32 and 36, but I want the information from the first 2 games first.
There could be so many interesting people that come out, like Tamori or
Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, potentially.
We haven't seen all season base. He scored twice the other day. So there's loads of options for them.
I'm with you on that, though. I'm not looking at Chelsea in the first week just because they're playing Villa. It doesn't really interest me. We've got Matt Hall, Dr. Matt 07 on Twitter if you want to find Matt. If we do a quick fire round, well, we're just doing all the questions, Matt. I've got an answer to this. What do you think? Would you pick Edison and Ozil or Reina and Mahrez?
Oh my gosh! By default, I think it has to be Edison and Ozil.
I just feel like
Reina and Mahrez might not play at all.
Yeah, it's like risk versus reliable plus risk. And I think Ozil is probably less likely to pull out a double-digit return than Mahrez, but could do it. And
I think Mesut Ozil at his value, by the way, at 7.3, I think he is.
Yeah, it's cheap, isn't he?
Well, look, he's capable. No one's ever doubted his capability, right? It's just whether he actually will produce the capability. He's probably around about that value, the most locked player to play twice, I would suggest.
From Arsenal and City, I think if you went to the likes of Villa or what have you, you could find cheaper players that will play twice.
Yeah, no. So I mean at that value. So Ozil, Bernardo Silva, David Silva, in and around that value.
Yeah. So Edison and Ozil was the answer to that for you. Andy Martin, FPL_tactician. Good job on the stream yesterday. Beard game still strong with Andy.
Boy.
We will see big fluctuations in prices with 9 game weeks left. Is value as important as important as waiting as close to the deadline as possible? And we've got another question on this a bit later on, James. Where people like you and me that want to make transfers in game week 31, plus who are not going to use a wild card, might want to consider making the transfers early, because that's the week that everyone coming off bench boost is going to play the wild card and start moving players out. And you could very quickly see drops and rises in the first few days after game week 30. Plus,
I would say, unless you are absolutely certain that you're going to be launching a wild card, I don't envisage making any transfers other than on the day for the rest of this season.
But and you're comfortable losing value because there is going to be.
I'm more comfortable in losing. Listen, we know the market will open Wednesday night or Wednesday early evening when Villa Sheffield United kick off or whatever. And we know that straight away people are going to be making transfers, right? Looking to
people will be activating.
How can I fire back in my Manes and stuff like that? And yes, for those launching wild cards, absolutely, of course. If you know 100% that you are going to wild card for game week 31 because you won't want your 30 team in that game week, yes, launch it on Wednesday night, play the market. But if you take my circumstance, where I'm not looking to do so, I certainly ain't thinking, well, I definitely want Mane against Crystal Palace in, I mean, goodness, what is that, 7 days later with about 25 Premier League matches to be played in between. No, I'm not going early, mate. I'm not going early. Even, obviously, next week, game week 31, the deadline is 5 o'clock on the Tuesday. We've still got Man City and Burnley on the Monday night. Ain't making no transfer till the Tuesday, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a slightly different situation to you, where I've only got squad value of about 102.6, something like that, 102.7. It's relatively low, but there are good assets in that 6, 7, 8, 9 million pound brackets that you don't need to have 3 or 4 double-digit value players. So I'll be able to maneuver around it. And in line with that question, we've got FPL Geek Sweden, who says, thoughts on saving money in the bank for game week 31. But I'll extend that question out. I suppose it means maybe if you give yourself 0.3 or 0.4 wiggle room every game week, in case you lose a 0.1 pip on a player or a 0.2, you can still make the transfer you wanted. Having a little bit of a slush fund between now and the end of the season, not more than half a million.
A slush fund.
$500,000's a lot of money, mate. We could buy a property where we live for that. $500,000 slush fund is worth it.
I got 1.5 million, so I'll take this for a night out, mate.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm planning money in the bank, as I've said there, which then after 31 is going to put me very borderline. But then I might be wildcarding straight into, free hitting 32 and then wildcarding 33. So at that point, it doesn't particularly matter for me. I think it's a very good point, Suj. I think for those wildcarding, I probably wouldn't maybe use all the funds just to protect against losing of 0.1 or so. Although if you're playing the market, you'll right from the start on Wednesday night, you'll probably be in a very good position. But on a whole on value, fuck it, mate. Like, seriously, you think I'm worried if I lose a pip off someone at this stage? Nah.
No.
This is the run-in now. It's 9 game weeks. This is about points, not about anything other than points now.
Yeah. While we talk about money, can I just get something off my chest, James?
No.
Because if I don't, then I won't be able to do the rest of the questions without this little tinge of annoyance in me with my football club. The rumour is that we're losing Ngakia at the end of this month because the kid's on $5,000 a week. He wants 10, and we won't give him the extra $5,000 a week. Yet we've extended Zabaletta's contract till the end of whenever we're on $75,000 a week. What we'll pay Zabaleta between now and the end of the season would cover Ngakia's pay rise for like 3/4 of a year. If these rumours are true, and the owners and that are pissing about with Ngakia for that much money, they need to fucking take a look at themselves in the mirror. Now, these are rumours, but it seems plausible that they would do a dumb, stupid, dickhead thing like that. If they do, they deserve a fucking slap in the face. It's stupid, right?
Next question.
Well, it doesn't make any logical sense.
I've got nothing to add on that other than you summed it up perfectly, mate. Yeah, there's lots of stuff at your dickhead football club that don't make sense, mate.
Right, FPL Tractor. For those of us hardcore and considering getting 12 double game weekers, who do we choose from Arsenal? You've got Aubameyang and Leno, perhaps. But after that, I'm going Pepe. Tractor. I'm going Pepe, but it'd be Ozil or Pepe. I don't think any of the defensive assets give you enough value, and they're all north of £5 million. You just get a Sheffield United asset at that price.
Yeah, don't like any of them.
Got to be a midfielder or an attacker. If you really want to cover off your bases and you've got a lot of confidence in Arsenal, then try the double up of Lacazette and Aubameyang. But otherwise, for me, it's Ozil or Pepe are the only other two.
The 1.5 I've got spare. If it was 2, I would probably go Ozil over McGinn. but I don't have enough to move from Fleck or McGinn to Ozil, and no great want to either. Actually, he's just going to frustrate the life out of you. I think Leno is the obvious safe way to go defensive with Arsenal. Price, nailedness of playing twice. Louise is too expensive. Bellerin, you don't know what kind of fitness condition he's in to play twice. Otherwise, he might not be a bad shout, actually. Is it Tierney or Saka at left back? Then in midfield, you've got Xhaka, Ozil. So I think Ceballos could really be an interesting one. He played the last 3 for Arsenal before the lockdown. He's cheap. He's 5.2. But then to sum it up,
he's a very good player.
But then to sum it up, I've gone with Fleck and McGinn over Ceballos, right? So at that point, I'm going, I'm just forcing someone in here for the sake of it. So I'm not going to.
Agreed. Hit Morpheus Fire. Thoughts on delaying using chips until we're a couple of weeks in, given that there will be potential postponements or what have you in the future? I'm not feeling that. I just think this double game week with Sheffield United, Arsenal, and City gives us the opportunity to use 1 or 2 of bench boost or free hit if you have it, and then maneuver around it. So yeah, sure, but it's an if or but, might be maybe a postponement or a double game week, potentially, possibly, might be.
I think
maybe
if you consider, say, triple captainers before the lockdown, and I've seen a few people talking about Aubameyang triple captain now in this game week, thinking he'll play twice, which I find fascinating actually, because obviously in the week before lockdown, we know some other people did do that when it was West Ham at home and Man City away. Now it's Man City away and Brighton away. I'm not really sure that it looks any better for Aubameyang than it did before lockdown. I don't really get that. If you've got the treble captain left, Agero, and that's fine. I only mention these as alternatives because some people will be in that position. I do think if it's a choice between treble captain and bench boost now, generally you'd be better off with the bench boost. But different players in different circumstances are going to be doing different things, for example. It's absolutely fine. What's the question, Suj?
Well, we're talking about chips here, and let me just read out Benny's question as well.
I'll tell you what I was going to say. Sorry, just to cut you off before you go on to Benny's question is, the one fear I have for wildcarders about their game week 31 wildcard is that they'll hate it by the time they get to 33.
Mm-hmm. You have been warned. Benny Blanco asks a very similar question here. Given the recent news of Norwich player, etc., potential postponements coming down the line spontaneously, he's leaning towards using his bench boost instead of his free hit in game week 30 plus, because he wants the free hit as a get out of jail card should there be any postponements further down the line.
I don't think there will be now, but yes, of course, that's a possibility. And yes, the free hit would cover you off nicely with that. I mean, from my perspective, I have absolutely no idea if I don't use the free hit in 32, which is actually probably becoming less likely for me if I'm just going in with De Bruyne, Trent, and Mane. I think I might just suffer it for the week. In which case, I have no idea really when I'm going to use it.
Why don't people want assets from Liverpool City? Are they really thinking it's going to be a 0-0 board draw or something?
No, I mean, you just...
A 1-1 with...
I think it's probably more the case, Suj,
and...
that if you've got the information going into 33, I don't want 3 between Liverpool and Man City. I want more. I want probably 5. That's probably more the point. So for those wildcarding in 31, do you want to carry, say, 5 into that fixture and then be on the other side of it and just accept 32 as bad? That's why I like 32 as a free hit alternative. For those wildcard in 31, then you can stock up on them, can't you? Skip it for the week against each other. Got no idea at the moment how that game's going to play out. I would suspect at the moment that Manchester City would beat them, actually. It's just a personal opinion. But yeah, just stay away from it. And there are other clubs with good other fixtures, right? So you've got Chelsea against West Ham, Leicester, Everton, United play Brighton, Arsenal play Norwich, Wolves play Villa. So you can skip them. And then imagine if you take all City and Liverpool and the values of De Bruyne's and Mane's and Aguero's, you take them out, then you can fill in with all your Vardys and Fernandez's and other people at that value and get a great free hit team for that game week. Whereas if you free hit in another game week, you're going to want City and Liverpool assets, right?
Yeah.
And that's part of the thinking for me.
Next up, we have Gibbo, Paul Gibbons, 43. Game plan if already used second wildcard.
Panic. You need balance. I think depends, right? If you like the squad that you've got in game week that you'll have in game week 31, I think free hit.
Yep.
So it's if you've got neither, then you need to use the unlimited with balance. So I think, for example, Jack Grealish is definitely in, right? And then do you want to add any other Villa players? You can be for or against. If you're unsure, I would go against. Arsenal, Aubameyang and Leno does you fine. Sheffield United, you might want to go double defensive. Henderson plus one more defensively. And then even City, I would probably go to 3, but then you're looking at escape routes where you can get straight to Mane, for example. In terms of a balance, I'd probably play that way and get like one of Mane or Salah in now. Yep. And go with it and not try and force through getting it. So you're looking for a greater balance. You might decide, for example, that Heung-min Son might be a great differential for you at the moment. I wouldn't particularly favour that, but it's okay. I mean, I can't tell anyone don't get Son when he's so explosive and capable, right? And he's going to be almost completely ignored here, I think, at the start. So you need balance.
Let's look at the best. This is an A or B question, James, from FPL BPS. Best 1 week punt: Ozil or Pulisic?
I wasn't even going to wait for the or, but actually, yeah, by default, yeah, Ozil.
Yeah, I think so as well. FPL Canada at WGUETW. That's probably a good way of pronouncing that, but I'm not going to attempt it. When the games kick off until the season ends, everything's much more unpredictable than before. From game time to injuries to the unknown reason a player's out, COVID. Should this be the time to up the risk factor on playing remaining chips and game week captain choices? Go big or go home? Is your risk appetite, James, bigger or smaller
now
the season?
Bigger, probably.
Yeah.
Bigger, yeah. I mean, because the rank's shit anyway. If it gets worse, it gets worse, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's probably bigger. Others are probably not in that position who will feel they're in top. There'll be people who are like 2K at the moment and they'll be desperate to hold on to a top 10K rank rather than thinking what could be. It's just in different people's natures, how they feel and stuff. So, yeah, personal.
Yeah, I think my strategy can only be aggressive now with the free hit and then lining up towards a bench boost and then maneuvering everything that's in between. So, yeah, maybe I will take a few bigger risks and what could be bigger than Leroy Sane. Who is Ben NYC or Benny C, depending on how it is? Are you in New York or is your name Benny? That's what we need to know. For those on free hit this week.
It's probably Benny, you nutter.
Well, it says, who is Benny C or who is Ben NYC? Those on a free hit this week, who do you think are the best single game week players?
I think the Liverpool and Wolves guys would be my preference. I know a lot of others are going to say Chelsea. Bruno Fernandes he's going to get carried through because people who jumped on at 8 million are not going to want to come off. That's understandable. I think the Liverpool and Wolves guys generally. And then if you want to look down in terms of budget wise, yeah, Danny Ings, Timu Pukki, similar values. They're fine. I would have added Lascelles into that genuinely, but I'm worried. I don't think Newcastle defensive is not the worst option. Sheffield United are not free scoring, right? As good as they've been this year. So I don't think if you want to budget Newcastle, that's not the worst play. Another interesting one, just to throw a name out that we haven't mentioned on the podcast recently, Suj, is David Brooks of Bournemouth.
Correct, back from injury.
Again, we'd be guessing a little bit in terms of the fitness. Palace, Wolves, Newcastle isn't a bad free to come back to. I know the questions are related to a 1 game week punt. Palace essentially have nothing to play for, basically. And obviously, Ryan Fraser looks like he's not going to stay. So Brooks has got to get back in that team and quickly. He would be a real outside one week punt.
Mm-hmm. Back to the question though, with a free hit, I I don't really see any need to want to go with a single game week player over a double game week player.
But then if you take my circumstance, I've basically, so I could rework things. Let's say, for example, I've got Danny Ings now in, right? And the plan was originally that I was going to get rid of Danny Ings. So I'm saying I would rather have Danny Ings than any other Arsenal asset rather than Leno or Aubameyang. That's what I'm saying, right? Rather than Nketiah, for example, 2 million cheaper, or rework to get Ozil in and go someone slightly cheaper up front. I could go, for example, Ings to Samatta and McGinn to Ozil. Doesn't interest me personally.
Yeah, but whether or not, because all 15 of your squad are playing, whereas on a free hit, only 11 are playing necessarily.
Plus, as well, I'm in the circumstance, and I know a lot of people won't be in this, where I'm potentially using Danny Ings for the next 3 game weeks. I don't think I want Samatta sitting there for the next 3 game weeks.
No.
Or Ozil, because trust me, if Ozil blanks over these 2 game weeks, you're going to want to get rid of him straight away. Even with Southampton and Norwich to follow afterwards, you're going to go, this guy.
Mm-hmm. Let's get through a few more of these. We've got a ton of questions still to go, James, so let's speed it up. Is Matt Target worth it?
I think, yeah.
I think so as well. Yeah. 4.4. And also,
it's nothing to lose, is there, really?
Don't overthink these lower price, cheaper options. You're not spending your time playing FPL to worry about who your 4.4 million wingback's going to be. And I do think, like James has said earlier in the show, you'll get a couple of games out of him. DCL or Pookie?
For the 1 game week, Pookie. I think for 2 DCL, for 3 Pookie. Does that help?
Not really. I like Everton's fixtures. I don't think they're too bad after the Liverpool game, but I also don't think they have anything to play for. But then I also remember what they did last season. Everton are real mixed, confusing conundrum.
Well, yeah, Everton were doing better, weren't they? And then the last game before the lockdown, they got absolutely annihilated at Chelsea, which I think has really drawn the mood back down around Goodison. So they are going to be so up for that Liverpool game. DCL's proven that he can return in any game, basically. And he's capable of returning against... He's as likely as anyone to return for Everton against Liverpool. But, I mean, that's not where you start, is it? I don't think. No. Personally. I think Pookie's the answer, I think.
Somebody that's had quite a lot of mentions. An FPL Jeb says it here. So I think I've heard him in your thinking as well, is Ismail Sarr. Could Sarr be a better pick than Grealish for those who don't have a wild card? So you're going to have to stick with this player for a longer period.
Well, the problem with Villa is once you get beyond the double game week and Newcastle, it really is a tough run. Wolves, Liverpool, Man United, Palace, Everton, Arsenal, and then finish with yourselves on the final day. That's a pretty tough run. But Jack Grealish is absolutely the talisman there. Watford, I think, are going to be absolutely fine, personally. And again, bar kind of a spread of a few difficult fixtures, like they finished with City in 37 and then Arsenal, Chelsea in 33, and obviously start with Leicester. Yeah, I like a bit of Watford between even the start and game week 36. But I think between the two, I would favour Grealish.
I would favour Grealish, between the two and on the longer term. I just think Villa really need to pull that out the bag. And whereas have Decore or Delafeu or what have you that can chip in, Grealish really is a talisman there for Villa and is going to be the driving force. And Sarr did get benched a couple of times in 2020.
I think you'll see now following that Liverpool game and that, he's going to be first choice. Don't forget Delafeu's out for the season, right? So you're probably looking at Pereira playing on the left, Sarr on the right, if that's how they decide to set up. So more onus on Sarr now with Delafeu absent. So yeah, I think he's a very, very good pick. I wouldn't have an issue with that. If he's the sort of player you want as part of your bench boost this week and then carry through, I don't have a problem with that. Just feel personally, if Villa are going to get out of trouble, Grealish is almost single-handedly going to get them out of it, I think.
Yep. FPL Suffolk Tractors. We've got an FPL Tractor. Now we've got an FPL Suffolk Tractor. What are we going to be? FPL North.
There's loads of tractors in that part of the world. You know that?
They are indeed.
You ever tried to overtake someone by Bury St Edmunds, mate, if you're heading that way?
I've never been to Bury St Edmunds, mate.
It's on the way, isn't it?
To where?
Not to Bury. Just to
Port
clarify,
Monroe.
that might be really confusing. It's nowhere near Bury, by the way.
My biggest dilemma is what to do as I have no wild card. Do I just accept I will lose out for the first game week as everyone else will use a free hit and bench boost, and I have to use the transfers, or do I free hit to keep pace but then just take a -4 for a couple of weeks to get the team I want? And FPL Tractor is 6k overall.
I would free hit, I think. And it also gives you thinking time for what you want to do then with your transfers as well.
I'm in the same boat, not 6k overall, but free hitting, and I fully intend to take a -4 in game week 31 plus and game week 32 plus as well. So we now have a couple more. We had a couple of questions in from Jeb and FPL Yogurt about squad value that we have now answered. Harry Stottle wants to know, this is a very quick one, Douglas Luiz or Guendouzi as bench fodder for game week 30?
Douglas Luiz. Douglas Luiz is a player I did consider because he's very cheap, etc. He's probably first choice out of him, Nakamba and Hurahan, but they could very easily change that. So massive gamble. I'd be surprised if Guendouzi played twice. Essentially, they're both shit options out of the two, Douglas Luiz.
Mm-hmm. Right, FPL Hindsight is asking about Ismail Lassar for game week 30. Not a bad shout, but I don't know if you're playing a chip or not in game week 30. So
He's fine. He's fine.
But Sarr is a decent player. Nice Godfrey, FPL Nice. Which players under 10 million do you guys find the best picks under 10 million? I mean, it opens up quite a lot of the game.
Is that just generally?
There's no context necessarily to that change.
Trent. Yeah, got to start with Trent. Robertson.
Vardy.
And Van Dijk.
Vardy.
Vardy, Heung-Min Son, Bruno Fernandes, Martial, Rashford. Rashford's a really interesting one at his price point. You know, was he 8.8? I think he's another one where I could go like Aubameyang to Rashford and then Mahrez to Mane. There's a few different ways that I've got my eyes strongly on Manchester United, as of many of us, I'm sure.
I think there's just too many to really narrow it down to three in the time that we have.
Yeah, Trent, Robertson, Van Dijk. Next question.
THB. Any chance you can do a roundup of all these warm-up games? Too lazy to look at. I haven't paid any attention. Forget about it.
Me too.
Especially when you've got...
Listen, you need to go into the detail. Like I said, a lot of the guys are going to be, I didn't know Tottenham played Norwich over 120 minutes, etc. So I can't even find the Tottenham team. I can't find it factually to tell you. There were reports and rumours, etc. There is nowhere that factually states that was the Tottenham team, 100%. So no, I haven't got the time to look into that sort of shit either. Am I going to look into the fact that who did Arsenal lose to the other week?
Was it Bradford or Brentford?
Bradford, I think. I think they lost to Bradford.
Wasn't it?
I think it was Bradford. Don't give us a shit. Arsenal lost to Bradford. What does it mean? Doesn't mean nothing, mate.
They played two different teams in both halves and stuff. So,
don't worry about it. The only good piece of information that I picked up from pre-season really is that it looks like Bruno Fernandes will be on penalties for Manchester United.
Yeah,
that's it. Because Rashford and Pogba were both on the pitch with him when he took 2 penalties against West Brom. 1 scored, 1 missed, and Pogba and Rashford were both on the pitch at the same time. So from that, I can say, yeah, it looks like Bruno Fernandes be on Man United's penalties. Other than that, I can't give you any good information from pre-season other than everybody's a risk. Genuinely.
FPL Rabbi, Tammy or Giroud, who do you think will get the start for Chelsea? Tammy.
Batchwire. Abraham's got to be Abraham, isn't it?
I would have thought Abraham as well. Bancy Castle. Also, what's your views on price changes when the game resumes? Do you think you'll see a spike for the double game week template players have come in, or the opposite as people remove them? We've talked about that. There is going to be volatility. Just give yourself some wiggle room to maneuver it.
Yeah, nothing to add on that.
Mike Mulcahy, if you're still holding a triple captainship, Is there a best player to use on this game week? If
This game week,
if Guerrero's the best captaincy option,
I think so, yeah.
default he's surely the best triple captaincy option. And if you want to play it safe, Kevin De Bruyne. Tom Morton, Lacazette, Bernardo Silva, and Jesus being overlooked for the restart.
I don't like any of them options personally. Jesus is capable, very much so. So are the other two. I mean, Adam at 350 seemed to think that Lacazette would probably play against Man City and not against Brighton.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the state of that, if that's what you end up with, isn't great, is it?
No.
So, yeah, none of them for me.
Okay. This is a question that I've got an answer for, but I'll ask your opinion. Love FPL at Saint_Kits_finest. Who do you believe will score the most points from now until the end of the season? Martinelli, Greenwood, Nketiah, or Connolly? Shall I answer it first while you toy it up?
Do you know what? It might actually be Martinelli.
Yeah. I just think it doesn't matter. Like you're worrying about your.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's very true.
You're just worrying about the fringe players that just don't matter. I think James is probably right in Martinelli, but the likelihood, the minutes, the amount of time they're going to spend in your team, unless you're really going for like 5 or 6 major power players and then 3 or 4 bench fodder, doesn't matter. So yeah, but probably Martinelli.
You're going to be great. Any of them players you've addressed, unless there's injury concerns, you're going to do well to be one of the starting them in your starting 11. So I really wouldn't worry about it. The other thing is that our Stat FPL Canal did a great article at Weekend talking about perhaps something a little bit overlooked on the fact the amount of substitutes that there are. Is that even if players are rotated, there is obviously a stronger possibility with 5 subs and available to choose from 9 possibilities that even if, say, I don't know, Pogba gets left out for game week 32, for example, there's a strong possibility he's going to come on and get you the 1-pointer anyway. So there is an argument, rather everyone's kind of thinking, yeah, strong bench because of rotation. There is an argument to be going with some cheaper ones, depending on how you feel, because a lot of the guys who get rotated are probably going to play half hour or 20 minutes anyway, in which case you'd obviously still get like the 1-pointer from them. So there is certainly a case from that perspective going with a cheaper bench.
Yep.
By the way, if I had to buy one of them, it would be Connolly.
Shark FPL, Grealish and Mane, Aubameyang and Fernandes is my last dilemma. Then my free hit team is complete.
Grealish and Mane, or Aubameyang and
Fernandes, Bruno Fernandes. I'm going Aubameyang and Fernandes for me. I do like Bruno Fernandes, and so I'm going to go with Bruno Fernandes.
The consistency of the two, yes, but what's your plan then for game week 31?
Atul Balaji, how are you, Atul? Who is going to be Southampton's goalkeeper? Looks like Gunn was playing in the practice matches, and if so, then McCarthy is a problem. Yeah,
McCarthy is in danger. I can't give you anything more than that, but the idea of if anybody's sitting there thinking, I've got Leno and McCarthy as my bench boost goalkeepers, for example, I would reassess that quickly. I think McCarthy is a big risk.
Yeah. We've got a champ man question in there, but we'll save that for tomorrow. Does James think that Sonny will hit the ground running?
How long have we got? No. But he's capable. Of course he is.
Why don't you think he'll hit the ground running?
Well, I think the first thing to say is he's probably going to play against Wan-Bissaka on Friday night. How much change is he going to get out of him? Not a lot. Not a lot. He won't be turning Wan-Bissaka inside out. So what Sonny needs to do on Friday night is go floating and get involved into central positions and not stay out on the touchline. Is Mourinho going to allow him to have that expression, or does he want him to help drop in and support his left back, particularly if, say, Daniel James plays in that position for United, which I don't think he will, by the way. So no, not at all. But then he's just as capable of playing against Zabaleta next Tuesday night and going mental against him, right? So Sonny's capable and Spurs are capable, but I'm not feeling it right now.
There we go.
But I can't wait to watch them Friday. I must add that. And I can't, even though I know they're going to disappoint me. That's what I'm looking forward to most is watching Spurs.
And that is a perfect way to wrap up the 1,000,001 Twitter questions that we have had, James.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep, there were a couple other repeated ones in there that we haven't covered off. But if you have, you can always tag us in a tweet or what have you. And if we get back to you straight away, we will. Woo! A lot of content we're pumping out this week, James. Do you want to let everybody know where and what coming so they can plan around it?
Yes. So patrons, you had a podcast earlier this afternoon. You got another one coming tomorrow. For everybody else, Clash of the Correspondence is brought forward from Thursday to Tuesday this week. You can obviously already catch up on 352 FPL Pringle City Arsenal, Adam Hotcroft FPL _Blade, Tomo on Villa Sheffield United. We covered all four of those teams over the last couple of weeks. Tomorrow we'll have Ricky Saunders and Is My Cat playing. We'll be talking about Tottenham and Manchester United tomorrow. Before the deadline, we'll be talking a bit more about the likes of Bruno Fernandes and Son, for example. On Wednesday, we'll be releasing our Sky podcast. We commit to making sure that gets released in the morning, so everybody's got the full afternoon clear of heads to make their final decisions. On Thursday, we will be back, Series 3, Episode 50. We'll be looking back on the first night of action. What does it feel like watching behind closed doors football? Did we put the sound on with crowd noises? What was it like, etc.? Friday, I'll stream. I'll also be streaming for Champman Tuesday night. And Saturday, we got quiz coming for patrons on Thursday as well. Then on Monday, Series 3, Episode 51, reviewing the 9 games between Friday and Sunday. Then and looking forward to a Tuesday deadline for Game Week 31. Woo! All go, Suj.
Oh, there we go. You did hear James mention our Patreon there. If you want to come and support the podcast in any which way you can head over to patreon.com/planetfpl. We've got a number of different tiers. I would say that our Patreon is very active. We've got separate competitions running for the Patreon members. We've got a very active Slack channel and all sorts of fun and games there as well that you can get involved with, as well as you've heard, all the additional content that we put out for those guys. So you can find that at patreon.com/planetfpl. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening, whether it be iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Overcast, Acast, every other cast, and so on. And also on YouTube, where you can hit the notification bell whenever James goes live on the Champman live streams or the Ask James live streams. You'll get notified straight away. Other than that, let's end it now so that we can get it edited out and gives you enough time to listen, hit rewind, and listen again. Stay guys. Ciao for now.
Be nice to each other. Good luck, everybody, and play it your way. Cue music, man, child.